Hey guys, who's ready to up their game in Figma in just a few minutes? In today's tutorial, we're going to learn how to design these beautiful Shopify websites using Figma's most powerful features and best practices, such as auto layout, components, components variants, styles, Boolean and Text properties, and a design system. So without wasting time, let's get designing. Okay, we're going to begin designing the Shopify website page by picking a frame for our design. And how we're going to do that is to go up here, clicking once and selecting frame, and the shortcut for this is F on your keyboard or A, the letter F or A. It brings up this panel, and then I can pick whatever frame I want, for phone, for tablet, or whatever. So for this, I want to pick a presentation frame, and I need this 1920 by 1080 frame. So I'm going to click once to bring it up to my work board over here. And while this is selected, I'm going to hit Shift and number 2 on my keyboard to fit this to the screen. The next thing we want to do is to go to the Shopify website and then start importing assets directly from the website. The first asset I want to import is colors, and the plugin called Colorzilla, an extension called Colorzilla, is going to help me to do that very easily. This is Colorzilla, and once Colorzilla is active, I can hover on any color that I want and just wait for it to load up here. You can see that up here. Once it's loaded, if I click once, that's picked different color. So I'm just going to do that again. Click on Colorzilla. Once Colorzilla is active, I'll hover on this. Now I want this goldish color first, so I'm just going to wait for it to load up there and click once. You can see now color copy to clipboard. I'll go back to Figma and then these are the frames that I created for my design system. So design systems help and also designers create some faster, sort of consistent experience across a range of products. So in these little boxes are where I am going to place the colors that I will need for this website. And the first one is the one I just copied using Colorzilla. So by selecting this rectangle, I will change the color by going to fill down here. And once I click on that and I paste that color using Ctrl V, now you can see the color has changed here. And to add this to my style so that I can reuse it very easily, I'll click on these 4 dots right here. So once that's clicked, I can click on this plus icon and then name this gold. Hit enter, and that's it. So whenever I need to reuse that color, let's say I want to add the color to this other rectangle over here, if I go to this 4 dots again and I click on it, I can see gold right here and just select it again. So it's that easy to reuse styles in Figma. So next, I want to get a different color from the Shopify website using Colorzilla. So the next color I need is the hover effect color on the buttons. Both buttons have the same hover effect color, this gray shade over here. So I'm just going to hover on this one and wait for it to change. That's it. Click on it once and color has been copied to clipboard. I'll go back to Figma and paste that in this second rectangle. I'll save that to my style sheet, to my color styles. So I'm going to call this gray. Hit enter. The next 2 colors I need are black and white. You can see there's black, there's a dark color, very dark color here, and also I need white for this text that has been used in the buttons. And for these ones, I will just pick some dark shades from Figma rather than going to Shopify to pick the dark ones from there. So I'm just going to pick this dark shade. I don't like to use the darkest because dark can hurt the eye sometimes. So I'm just going to pick this 0F0F0F0F, and For the white, I can just pick the whitest. That's cool. And then an easy way to pick colors in Figma again is if I click on this and highlight everything and I press the number 0 once and hit enter, it fills up the entire text box to zeros, and then that picks the darkest color in this. So you can see is the darkest color. And if I want white, I can just hit F once and hit enter. And you can see that changes to white. So you can take note of that and use that to pick colors easily. So I'm just going to quickly remove the frames from this because the strokes from this because I don't need it. So up next, we're going to take care of our typography. That's the font type and sizes we're going to be using for this project. And I'm just going to go into Shopify and open a little helper of mine called CSS Peeper. That will help us to peep into the CSS properties of this website and get those font sizes that we need. So here's CSS Peeper, and I'm just going to give you a little breakdown of what CSS Peeper can do. You can use it to basically check the colors by clicking on this. You can click on this button over here, this tab. You can see all the colors that have been used on this website. Another use is you can also peep into the assets that has been used in this website. So the logos and the icons that have been used, and even pictures as well. So you can just go over on any one of them and export it, and you can easily download any of these assets from the website. So another amazing use of CSS Peeper, which is what we need right now, is we can click on any element and see the font size and the typeface that have been used throughout the website. So in this case, you can see the font size 22px, and you can see the font family over here. And you can also see the size of each and every element on this website. So if I click on, let's say, this header, for example, this top nav over here, you can see the size is 1339 by 72. So that's another use. You can also see the color that has been used, the background color and whatnot. So I'm just going to start picking the type fonts, since that's what we're here for, the font types. I'm going to click on the size as well. So I'm going to use this, start with this smaller one, and that is 16px. And for the type, the font type, I'm just going to use Inter. That's Figma's own Inter. So I'm going to call this body space or body 16, and then I will change it to 16 over here. That's the font size by clicking on this, or you can use the down arrow and select, or you can pick the size yourself. You can impute the size yourself. So I'm just going to start with body 16. I'll go back, and then let's do this one's the navigation. So that's also 16. Great. Check this one. That's also 16. Check this one. That should be bigger. That's 22px. So let me check this one. This one looks a little bit. For the buttons, okay, the button is 18px. That's 18 pixels. Alright, so I'm going to do body 22. And then change the size down here to 22. Right, so let me see if there's any other body text that I need to worry about. We are going to be creating this, by the way, so we may need some of this as well. Let me check this one. This is 14px, and then this is 24px, and then this is 10px. So we can go ahead and add those over here. So we have 24px, we had 10px as well. And then we also had, I'm just going to click and drag and use shift while clicking, I'll hold shift while clicking and dragging, so it can go in a straight direction without shifting left or right. If I also want to move it right, left and right, I can also hold shift, and you can see the arrows change on the mouse pointer. So yeah, I'm going to use this red lines to align it to the other one at the top, and I'm just going to create my body 14. And yeah, I know there is also body 12, so I'm going to create that first before I do 14. So I'm going to start changing some of this. So 10, then this is 12, and then this is 14. And then we can also do one for the body, for the button, sorry. So the button is bold, and it's 18 from what we saw. So we're going to go here and change from regular to bold and change this to 18. Great. I'm going to give this some space, and then there should be 2 different sizes of buttons. So I'm going to, this one should be smaller. So this one used 14 for the text size, but it's also bold as well. So I'm going to drag. So how I'm doing this right here is by clicking once and selecting it and holding Shift and Alt, and then clicking and dragging. Or just by holding Alt, you can click and drag a duplicate of any element in Figma very easily. But then by holding Shift while doing it, I can easily just drag up without, that, because that helps me keep things in a certain direction, because I want it to go up without going left or right. I need to align it with the element just beneath it. So I'm going to change this to button 16, sorry, 14, and then I'm going to leave it as bold and give this a size of 14. So now we are going to learn how to put this in our styles, our local styles, so that we can reuse this typography over here very easily without having to come back here. So I'm going to start with this body 10. If I go here to this 4 dots, click on it, and then click on the plus icon, I could add this style right here, this text style right here, to our library, and then easily use it another time. So I'm going to call this body /10. I'm going to use a slash naming convention. The slash naming convention is very powerful, and we'll learn about it during this video as well. So I'll click on create styles, and then let me do another one before I show you what the slash naming convention does. I'm going to do the 12. I'll click on this 4 dots right here, click on the plus icon, and call this body /12, and hit enter. Now let's say I want to type something, and then I just put lorem ipsum here like this, and I'm just going to quickly detach this style from here by clicking that button. And let's say I want to use one of the styles that I just saved. So I'm just going to click on these 4 icons right here. You can see body. I'm just going to scroll this for a better view. So if I click on this 4 dots right here, you can see body 10 and then body 12. So this is what the slash naming convention does. By adding slash, you create like a sub layer, like a subfolder. So the body becomes the main folder, and then after whatever is after the slash becomes a sub. So you can see body 10 and body 12 over here. So if I select any of this now, it changes, and if I select body 10, you can see the effect right here, it changes easily. I'm going to delete this and continue. So we'll continue adding this to our text styles. I believe we stopped at 12. I'm just going to go to 14. Do this very quickly. body slash 14. Body slash 16. Hit enter. Click on this. Click on the 4 dots plus icon. Body slash 22. And we should have a body 18 as well. I'm going to shift this down and then just shift and alt and then 18. So I'm going to detach this, resize it to 18 and then add it. Plus icon body slash 18. And it has been done. Plus icon body slash 24. Alright, so there's a whole lot of body text, and this could be named to whatever you want in your project. It doesn't have to be body. If you know exactly what you're using this text for, then they could be named literally anything that you want to name them. So to make things more literal, if that's the way you work. So for the buttons, I'm also going to start a new folder. So I'll add and do button slash 14. Hit enter. So do the other one, body slash 18. I feel like I did 18 twice. Oh no, I messed up. I'm just going to Control Z this and put this in body. Alright. I added that in body instead of button. Alright, so button slash 18. So now you can see over here that we have button 14, and let me just scroll up. Let me scroll so you can see this better. Okay, still the same thing. So you can see button 14. I hope you can see button 14 and 18 down here. So that's a whole new, like a whole new layer or folder containing the button text. The next thing we're going to do right now, after cutting our text sizes, and of course there's a huge H1 text over here. We can take care of that right now if we want. So I'm just going to click on this, and then you can see the font size is 96. So we can take care of that right now. So I'm just going to use create another text. By the way, to create a text, you can go up here and click on this, or you can use shortcut T on your keyboard. By pressing T, you can create the text easily. So I'm just going to press H1 because that's the biggest heading for this our design. So H stands for heading, and 1 is what I'm just going to use to identify that that's the biggest. So that is 96 from what we checked, and I'm just going to detach this and then change the size to 96. Yeah, probably also make that bold or something. Yeah, bold is fine. Bold is fine. That's close to what we have. Alright, so this is our H1 text. Great. So next we're going to take care of our logos. We'll start to import some logos, and let's begin doing that. We're going to go to Shopify website, and how we're going to do that is I'm just going to close CSS peeper. So by closing it, the website is going to reload. It does that. So I'm going to close this, and then for us to get our logos, first of all, I'm going to start with the Shopify logo itself. So I'm just going to hover on this logo right here, right click on it, click on inspect, waiting for it to load. Right. So now I'm inspecting all the elements of this website, and with that, right click and clicking on inspect is going to take you directly to the element that you right clicked on. So what I'm looking for right now is the SVG, because this logo is an SVG It's an SVG file, so you can see here, look at the SVG tag, and I'm just going to hover on this and right click, go to copy, and then copy element. So I'll go back to Figma and just Ctrl V to paste it. Boom, just like that, we have our logo. And I'm just going to resize this. Holding shift and resizing will help me resize it proportionally. Helps me resize the width and the height proportionally. So yeah, I'm just going to place this here. So first logo, and then I will continue importing some logos, but yeah, let me just import this one next before we move on. So this one is more of like an image. So because of that, I'll just hover on it, and then it shows up the SVG file, and then I'll click on that link. It shows up the SVG link. I'll click on that link, right click. You see, it opens up the SVG image in another page. All right, click on save this. So yeah, I've saved that, and then I'm just going to show you another example. For the sake of time, I won't be doing all of them because Shopify's website has to this animates. It does a scrolling animation, and I have to wait for some of this to show up. And if I have to wait for each and every one of them to show up, each and every one of them using for this example to show up before I continue, it's going to take a whole lot of time. So I'm just going to do this one again. You have to hover on whatever element you're trying to see. So if it's this logo, I'll right click on it and inspect. So this has come up. I'll hover on you can see IMG. IMG stands for image. And then I'm just going to go to the link next to it and hover on it, and this comes up, and then I'll click on this link. Just like that. Boom, it showed up here. So I'll right click and save this as well. I already have it. So I'm going to show you another example of how you can import images. So on this Mr. Beast image right here, you see I'm not right clicking. You will notice I'm not right clicking on this logo. I'm right clicking on the image. So if I right click and inspect this, it should take me to the image, Mr. Beast image, rather than, okay, yeah, this should be it. You can identify this by looking for the IMG tag. The IMG tag is used for images. So you can see if I hover on this, I can now see that image, and then if I click on that link, it opens up the image. So just like that, you can easily keep inspecting and importing whatever elements you need from this page. So I'm going to close this for now, and then I already have all of my logos. I have already so for the sake of time, I'm not going to go ahead and start importing each and every one. So this video shouldn't take, so it won't take too long. This video won't take too long. So I'm basically just going to import those right now from the folder where I kept them, and then continue this video. So I've gone ahead and gotten those logos that I need for this video. So these are all my logos, and then next we'll start creating these cards right here using components. We're going to get both states done, both the hover state done and the default states. So let's begin. And for this, just as how I showed you before, if you want to get this particular image, you can right click on the image itself and inspect. And then just look for the IMG tag. So you can see IMG right here. Over on the link, and it should pop up anytime from now. All right, nice. That took some time. So I'm going to click on this link. It's going to open the image in another page, and I can just right click and save this image, and that's it. So I can do that for each and every image that I want here. and get them saved. And then, I can go to Figma, and in order for me to import some of this into Figma, I'm going to first of all create a rectangular shape here that I'm going to use for this, and I'll just make the size 247 and 349, like that. And then I'm going to hit Ctrl Shift and K. That's one way of importing things into Figma. Ctrl Shift and K, and then you can use that to your window should pop up, where you have your files, and you should be able to pick pictures from there. So I'm just going to this is absolutely terrible. So I have gone ahead and imported all of the logos that I need for this project, for this design. And a quick tip for you to be able to, if you want to be able to import images into Figma, you can just go here to this rectangular shape tool and then scroll down. You click on the arrow, the drop down arrow, and you can see here place image or videos. And the shortcut is Ctrl plus Shift plus K. So we're going to start practicing using that Ctrl Shift plus K right now as we begin creating our cards. The cards are these elements right here. Now these things right here with the pictures and the hover state. We're also going to do the hover state using component and variant. And so we're going to begin. Let's start with this picture. Now I'm going to right click on the picture itself and click on inspect, because I want to use this particular picture, so I'll get it from the website itself. So I'll look for the img tag and then hover on, once I hover on the link, this shows up and then it pops up with the link. I'll click on this link and then it should open the image in another page. Boom, just like that. I can right click now and then save image. So I already have this image saved, so I'm just going to go into Figma and then start creating the cards. So I'll hit R, or I can just click on this down arrow and select rectangle, and then R is a shortcut to create a rectangle or to bring up the rectangular tool. So I'm just going to click and drag to create a rectangle, and then I'm going to resize it from using this right panel. I'm going to resize it to 279 by 347, whatever. So but if you want to use the exact size, you could just bring up CSS peeper, and that will help you get the exact size of that picture or of the images. So I'm going to bring up CSS peeper. That's another use of CSS peeper. So I'm just going to click on any one of these images right here, and you can see the size. It's 247 by 349. So 247 by 349. Great. And with this selected, or even without it selected, I can hit Ctrl Shift K, which is our shortcut for placing images, and place that image. I'm going to first of all just look for that image real quick. Okay, found it. And once it's selected, you'll see this over here is going to change. It has changed to something else. You can see that there's something happening, and then you can see an image on my cursor. So if I hover on this triangle, you see what happens. Now on this rectangle, you see what happens. Because it's a rectangle, it does that, or because it's a shape, it does that. It does that for only shapes. If it's just a frame like this, it won't work. For a frame, if you want to add an image in the frame, you have to go through your fill, and I'll show you that maybe in the next example. So when I hover on this, you see it kind of highlights it, and if I click on it, it places the image into it very nicely. So let's say this was a frame. I'm going to hit F to create a frame. and then I'm just going to drag and loose shape right here. And for this frame, if I want to add an image into a frame, if I hit Ctrl Shift and K and I pick an image from wherever and I come back here, you'll notice it's not doing anything here. Now I'm going to show you the difference very clearly. Now you see it's not doing anything here, and now see it's doing something here, and it's not doing anything here. So yeah, I'm going to use the same example as this Mr. Beast picture just to make things very clear. So I'm going to select the image again, and then you see it's highlighting and it's not highlighting here. So I'm going to click on this and put that back in. For a frame, if you want to add an image into a frame, you can click on this plus fill icon, and then I'll select the colors and then change it from solid to image, or even a video if that's what you want, and then choose image. Once I click on choose image, I can select any image to fill this up, and then even edit it if that's what I want, or rotate it around if that's what I want. So I can fill it, crop it, do whatever I want to it. So that's about it. We're just going to continue creating this right here, this cards right here. So for this, we need a variant for it. For that hover effect to work, we're going to use components in order for us to create that hover effect. In this video, that's what we're going to be using, and it's really powerful, using components and variants to create cool hover effect and other kinds of animations. So by pressing Shift and Alt, well, first of all, I'm going to name this. I'm going to frame this first of all. So by right clicking, like frame selection, or hit Ctrl Alt and G on my keyboard, Ctrl Alt and G, that frames it. And then I'm going to rename this frame to, let me name it Mr. Beasts. Hit enter, and then now I'm going to create I'm going to turn this into a component first of all. So in order to make this into a component, while it's selected, I can click on this icon up here, you can see, to create component. So I can do that, boom, and then you see the color changes to purple, some sort of purple. That shows you, and you can see over here on the on the layers panel, you can see that icon is now on top of it, which tells you that it's a component. So with this selected, if I click on this plus icon, I can create a variant of this. So you see, now I have a component set. Now this is one way of doing it. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. Now with this component set, first of all, I can go here and then rename this. I'm using Ctrl R to rename, by the way. Okay, before we get to this, let me just show you another way of creating a variant. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Z until this goes away. And then now this is not a component anymore. I'll hit Shift and Alt and drag to duplicate this just right beneath it. Great. Now these two now have the same name, and I'm going to rename this second one to Mr. Beast slash. Remember the slash naming convention. I'm going to give it Mr. Beast slash hover and hit enter. Now with this done, I can click on these two. By holding Shift, I can select both of them, and then I can go here to this down arrow next to this component icon and then create component set. Now once I click on this first one and this second one are going to be a component set, but two different variants because of that slash that I added there. And because they have the same name, it's also going to make that work. So yeah, I'm going to select both of them, this one and this one, and then click on this down arrow and create component set, and boom, just like that. If I go into this, we're going to see that this second one has hover on it. You can see the property over here on the right panel. It's hover, and this one is a default. And I can also change the name of this one if that's what I want. I can change it here, or I could hit Ctrl R while it's selected, or I click on this and then click on rename. The shortcut for renaming is Ctrl R. Now the element is selected, so I can hit Ctrl R and then change this from default. Now pay attention to this right side. while I change this. Property 1 equals, let me do normal instead of default. If I hit enter, see what happens there. Change this to normal. And now pay attention to what happens to the left hand side. These two things are intertwined. So I'm going to hit default. Now pay attention to what happens here. Hit enter. You see that? So that's how you can create components and their variant. These are two ways you can create them. So with this done, so I think this is okay for now. Yeah, I'm just going to create another one. Let me do another one, and I'm going to do that by selecting both of this, and then by holding Shift and Alt, I'm just going to drag it, duplicate to the right hand side. And the next thing I want to do is to right click. While they are both selected, I'll right click and then detach this instance, because I'm about to create a whole new component set. So detach the instance so they are not components anymore. And then now I want to, add a different image for my second variant. So there's a very important thing that we forgot to do right here. We forgot to change this to the hover state. And how we're going to do that is, first of all, if you go to the website and you hover on this picture right here, you can see it has a white overlay on top of it. So we're going to recreate that and put this logo just beneath his jaw, from what you're seeing here, and then this text right here, Mr. Beast and Entrepreneur. All right, so let's do that real quick. I'm just going to take this logo. This is the logo for that. I'm going to hit Alt and drag and take that down here. And you see, whatever I do here is going to affect the hover state only. So I'm going to resize this, holding Shift, put it right beneath his jaw, right there. Perfect. And then I'm just going to change the opacity so that you can start to see things. I'm going to, add the overlay effect so you can start to see things clearly. So while this is selected, I'm going to add a fill. It's going to be, I added that on the frame. I'm going to go into the image itself. So I'm going to rename this to image, and go to the other one and rename this to image as well. So things are clear. And I guess I have to do that here as well. So this is something that you also need to know. If I want to rename this to element or even more, by selecting the both of them, maybe holding Shift or dragging and selecting the both of them, if I click on Ctrl R or if I right click on rename, this pops up, this modal pops up. This you can use to rename multiple elements that have been selected. Now whatever name I choose over here is going to affect everything that has been selected. So let me change, look at it, this is a preview. So let me change this rectangle, both rectangles to image. And you can see, if I rename that, watch here, that's changed easily. Alright, so I'm just going to go back to what we're doing, go to the image, and then add a fill on top of it. For that hover effect, I'll change this to white, and increase the opacity to, let's say, 75. Alright, perfect. I'm going to hit T to bring up, to able to impute text. I'll drop that size to 16 first. Alright, so as entrepreneur, let me go, yes, I think it's entrepreneur, and then going to duplicate this, Shift and Alt, and then I'm going to put Mr. Beast. Alright, let me see. Okay, that's still coming up, but yeah, I'm sure that's correct. So I'm going to change this to some of our textiles that we've created before. First of all, I'm going to make this an auto layout using Shift and A. or while the both of them are selected, I could just click on this plus icon right here on the right panel, and that will add an auto layout to this. And then I'll rename this to, let me call this name. Yeah, let me just call it name for now. The Mr. Beast should be, let me use 14. Perfect. And this one should be, I think 16 works. Let me see, 18. Yeah, I'm just going to use 18 for now. And then I'm going to make this bold, because you can see in these ones, yeah, they're all bold. They're all bold, yeah. So I can use CSS Peeper to check this, by the way. Oh, it's actually inversed. So Mr. Beast on top and then entrepreneur beneath. So I'm going to change this right here. Entrepreneur. And then Mr. Beast. Great. Okay. I'm going to make this bold. And how I'm going to do that is I'll detach this instance first, and then I'll make this bold or semi-bold. Yeah, semi-bold is okay. And I'm going to add this to my styles as well. So plus icon, and then I'll call this body /18 - semi-bold. Great. Alright, so now this is our hover state. And I'm just going to add some corner radius to this, because this corner radius came from the image itself, and I want it to affect the frame as well, in case, because I've duplicated it. And if I add another image, you will notice that this does not have any corner radius. And by looking here, you can also see it does not have any corner radius, the frame itself. So I'm going to add a corner radius of 10. No, sorry. Yeah, 10. That works. I'm going to go to the hover state as well and change that to 10. Okay. So now we're going to do the second one, and I'm just going to hit Ctrl Shift and K. And then pick an image for that. I'm going to use this one. And then now you notice, I think all of these images have got corner radius, so yeah, but I'm just going to be on the safer side, I'm going to add that to the frame. And so this is how you add corner radius. Alright, so great. So I'm going to delete the second one, and then drag a duplicate of this. And then I'm going to rename the both of them. How they're both selected, because okay, first of all, we need to know what we're doing. This is, okay, if it pops up, you know that this is Amorio. I don't even know how to pronounce this. So I guess it's French. So I'm going to drag this into the second frame. Make sure it's in the center. Try to align it. It just popped up again. So it's just beneath her lips right here. Yeah, and then the text. I need to get the text. So it's founder. So I'm just going to copy this one, Karen Rose Gold, so I don't forget it. So this is just beneath her lips, on top of her lips area. Great. And then the text, for the text, I'm just going to copy this and then paste it here in this frame, so it's on the same place. Great. So I'll highlight this and paste my text from my clipboard. Alright, great. And it's founder, I believe it's founder. That's the title. So I'm just going to place this in the center. I can use Alt H, or I can use this to align this horizontally to the center. So Alt H is the shortcut for that. Let's see, it does aligned. So I'm going to add the same fill I added to the first one to this. I'm going to add that to the image itself. So by hitting Control, you can select the image itself. You can select things that are inside a frame. Whatever is inside, you can select it. So you see right here, I can select the mistake. If I leave Control, it highlights everything, and if I can only select what's outside. But if I hold Control, I can select what is inside. So that's a little trick that helps. So select the image. I've added that fill already. I'm going to make this white, sorry, and then increase the opacity to the same as the other one, 75. That looks pretty much, I think, like what we have here. Okay, let's go. Yeah, I don't know what I did here, but that is definitely not the way it should be. So we'll delete this. It's Alt H again. Perfect. Okay, so I could go on and do this because there are like I think 3 more that I need to do, but I'm just going to leave this 2 because do only these 2. First of all, let me turn this into component set. So I'm going to rename both of them into a Amoreo first before I then rename this one to /over. Then by selecting the both of them, I'm going to create a component set. Boom. That's how I should have the hover and the default. Great. So yeah, I could go on and continue doing this, but I'm just going to leave this 2 for now because I don't want this video to be too long. And I have a way of getting the, I have the rest somewhere, and I'm going to learn something new. As we move forward, we'll learn something new. So let's go on to the banners. And you know what? The banners are these little things over here. We're going to import this from the website as well. And how we're going to do this is just the exact same way that we did with the other ones. If I right click on this and inspect, you know, I could easily just import whatever image I want from here so easily. So this pops up, you can see the img tag. I hover on this, hover on it long enough, it should open up. It's taking too long. Please don't take my time. Come on now. Okay, yeah, that should have worked a long time ago. Alright, great. So I think I was hovering on the wrong thing, so I can click on this just like I did with other images, and then yeah, we have our image. I can right click and save it easily. I can do that for all of this, but yeah, I can also do that for this. Okay, not for this. This is not an image, but for the sake of time, I don't want this video to be too long. Yeah, so I think we've already covered how to do that inspecting part, and how to use CSS peeper to get sizes of all of this text and all of that. Even the colors of some of this have also been covered. How to get the colors of this have also been covered. You can use Colorzilla to get these colors, you know, whatever colors you need from this page, you can use Colorzilla to get it. So for the sake of our time, I will just move on to the next one of the most critical and important part of this video, which is using global styles now, and also components. Now, how this is done is, how this works is, I have already created some of this, not some, in fact, all of these logos. I've already imported all of these logos and created all of these cards and banners in another Figma file just for this tutorial. So what we're going to do is that I have already saved these as components, right? And also not just that, also this text right here, this type here, and the styles over here, and even the colors. I have already done this somewhere else and saved them for the sake of this tutorial. Because of this next part of this video we're about to enter, I did that. So how this works is I will go into that Figma file right now and then show you how you can reuse components and styles from other Figma files in another Figma file. So if I used some styles, or if I created some styles in another in a Figma project before, and let's say I want to reuse those styles, like these styles I created right now, if I want to reuse them, and even these color styles and even these components, if I want to reuse them in another Figma file, in another project that I'm doing, I could easily do that in Figma. So Figma is quite awesome. Let's jump into that and I'll show you how to do that real quick. So I'm going to go into that file. This is the Figma file. Now you can see what I'm talking about. I have already created all of this for the sake of this. So these are the banners right here, and these are the components. And you can see all the styles here on this right side of the panel, and also the colors as well. So if I want to reuse all of this, instead of recreating it, I could just go here to this down arrow, click on this, and click on Publish Library. And then I would have to move this into a theme in order for me to use it as a component. Now, you can read this, move to theme to publish the component. Move this file to professional theme in order to publish components to that theme's library. You can either do this or you can just publish only styles if you don't want to move it into a theme, into a professional theme. So I want to use the components as well, and I want to publish the components as well. So I'm going to move this into a theme real quick. So clicking once, I'm going to move this into Michael's theme project, and then move. And then you can see all of this right here. Scroll down, you see components as well. So I'm going to make sure they are all selected. I'm going to make sure everything is selected. And then, yeah, I'm going to publish that. I'll wait for that to finish. Now that it is done publishing, I'll go back to the Figma file where we're designing. So how we're going to check this out is if I go to Assets now, and then now you can see here, first of all, you can see all the styles that we have. It's just the ones we've created, right? And then if I click here, you can see the components that we've also created, right? So these are only the ones we created in this file. There's nothing else activated. But by going to Assets and then clicking on this theme library over here, now you can see all of these things that have been published into this theme. And down here you can see Shopify website design, which is the name of the one we just published. And if I click on it to open it up, I'll see all the styles and all the assets that was published from there. The ones that I selected and published, but in this case I selected everything and published everything. So you can see all the text styles, the color styles, and all of the components that was created and published. So now I enable it. After I enable it, cancel this. And now, if I, for example, go into one of this text, and then I want to change, let's say from body 22 to something else. If I click on this right here, now this is the text that is selected. If I click on this right here, now you can see down here, what is it? Shopify website design. Everything that is underneath this now came from that particular file. Now you see, this is amazing. You don't even need to go and start recreating all of this. If you've created it in one Figma file before, you can just come to a new Figma file and then just easily reuse it by activating it with one click of a button. So these are the ones that we've created in this project. See, it doesn't have any name above it, and this is the ones that we just imported. Everything, even some that I have not created yet. You can see, for example, this 14 semi-bold. So you see all of this, the headings and all of that. So we don't need to recreate that anymore. We can just reuse that. And as for the components, if I go into assets, I should be able to see, look at it, Shopify website design. And under assets, I can see all of those assets, all of those components. Now you see this one that has been created. So let's say I want to, okay, let me show you a duplicate of this one, for example. If I drag this into this place now, you see, that's it, that's the default state. And if I click on this, because this is an instance, so I can switch it, click on this, you can see the hover state. So I can switch between both of them because it has already been created. Now, to show you this example on this one that we created in this particular Figma file, I need to make sure I'm not in the wrong place. Okay, if I click on Alt and drag this out, a duplicate of this out. Now, you see we created this, this is the main component. So we created two states, two variants. But when you want to see the both of them in action, you have to get what is called an instance of that component. So this is an instance. Once you duplicate it or copy it and paste it anywhere else, it becomes an instance of your main component. And with that, I can switch from those two variants that I created, just like I'm doing here. So yeah. So with that in mind, I'll go back to my assets panel and I'll get the rest of my cards. So this is for Run, and this is for Kieran Finch, and this is for the sale. So while all of this is selected, I'm just going to use this to align them vertically. Boom. And if you notice, this is the same size with what we have here because I also used CSS peeper to get the size correctly. 247, 349. Great. And for our banners, this is our banner that has been created in the other Figma file. So if I drag this, I have 4 different variants of this, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see here, if I click here, you see all the variants. Okay, that's 5 different variants. So I can switch between those variants because these have already been created. I'm going to go to the other Figma file to show you what I mean. This is it. And what I did is, just like what I did in this, I created one of it and then added a variant, changed the properties and renamed it using the / naming convention, and turned each and every one of them into what we call component sets. That is why when I drag an instance of any one of them to anywhere, I can easily switch from different variants. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this as window 1, just so everything is clear. 2. Now I'm hitting Ctrl D. Now that's something else. Let me Ctrl Z this back. Now I'm going to use Alt and Shift, to drag this to the right and keep it aligned as well. And I'm first of all change it to 2. If I hit Ctrl D, Figma remembers the position of this and the direction that it was duplicated to. If I hit Ctrl D, it's going to duplicate it using the exact same size. Now you can see this is 44. The exact same size and positioning. Ctrl D. Now you see the same thing. If I hit Ctrl D again, you can do that continuously. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 5. I can go ahead and start changing these one by one. 3, 4, 5. So we have our banner set. For our buttons, yes, I have buttons here, but then we're going to create this one from scratch. By pressing T on our keyboard, we'll bring out the text tool and then start creating text. I will type in button and then I'll change the text properties here to our button text. So I can use either the one that we created here, or I can use the former. I'm just going to use the one that was created in the other Figma file. So I'll use button 16 for the small button. Let me zoom in a little bit so things are clearer. So how Figma, let me put this nicely, newbies to Figma, how they create buttons is it's funny. And yeah, I did that as well. That's why it's funny. I did that when I began, but it's totally wrong. What they do is they use R or use the rectangle to create a rectangle, and then they put this text inside the rectangle. Let me bring this forward using, yeah. So this is how, and then they group it. So this is how newbies, which I used to do before, and this is how I used to create buttons. But this is not the right way to create buttons, because now look, let me show you the difference. Let me create a button the way a button should be created. So by this being selected, if I hit Shift A and turn this into an auto layout, I can play with this a little bit. Let me give it 20 padding left and right, and then I'll leave this at 10. Okay, so now I'm going to give this a fill. So there's a more obvious. Alright, different fill. So this is still a group, shouldn't be a group. I'm going to ungroup this, and only this should be a group. Ctrl G to group very quickly. That's a shortcut. So now let me show you the difference. If I increase the text size, the text on this, let's say I want to, button is a placeholder text. Let's say the button says shop at Shopify. Are you seeing what's happening? You see what's happening? It does not respond. It's not responsive. So I'm just going to drag this to the side and show you how the right way works. So I'm going to change this to shop, and now you can see the effect immediately. Shop at Shopify. What it does is it resizes as you increase elements, or as you increase the text or reduce the text inside that frame. You can either keep this fixed over here if you want. You have that choice. You can make this fixed. If you turn this into a fixed frame, what happens is it won't change anymore. You see that now? Now it behaves like the old one. So, but because it's on hog content, now it hogs whatever content is inside of this shape. Yeah, that should work. Sorry, I didn't select the frame itself. I'm going to select the frame and change that to hog content. Then once I start, you see, so this is the right way to create buttons, and this is just the wrong way to create buttons. I'm going to change this text to button as our placeholder text, and then I'll just drag this closer here, and I'll rename it using Ctrl R to button, and I'm just going to align everything inside of it to the center. Keep things clean, and I'll change the color of this frame to now. This is something else that I forgot to show you. You can see the colors from the Shopify website design that I did before, that was published and then imported into this Figma file. That would also come here. So now you can see them. I can use the dark that I used there, that I created there, and just by clicking once, I can change the color of this element that I selected before so easily. I'm going to change the text size to about white. Nice. So these are the colors that we created. This was not turned into a color style. If not, you would have seen it there. So I can also add this if I wanted. I can call this dark. And I can call this one white. Hit enter. Great. And now if I go back and click on this, you can see the ones that we just created, and you can see the one that we imported. So I'm going to give this a corner radius by clicking and dragging when the pointer changes to this left and right arrow. By clicking and dragging, I can even click and drag into the screen until it turns round. Look at the element that is selected. Pay attention to the element that's selected down there. Talking about this. So it rounds up while I'm dragging, and when I'm comfortable, I'll stop. Yeah, cool. So that's our button. This is the right way to create a button. And then we have two different sizes of button in the Shopify website. We have this one, which is a small one. It uses a smaller text, it uses 14. And then this one uses 18. It's a bigger text size and also a bigger size of button. I need to confirm that this is 14. I use 16. Okay, I'm just going to change that. I can easily change that with this icon right here. I'll click on that. Okay, so this was brought from another file, so I can't really change that right on this. But if you wanted to change anything, I'm just going to leave it at 16 for the sake of this video. If you want to change whatever on any of this, you can just click on this edit icon right here, and it edits the style. You can change the size, you can change the name, or whatever other elements you want to change. And you can do the same thing for the colors as well. So you can go here and edit the style, and you can change the color, change the opacity, or whatever. So yeah. So I'm going to hold Control and Shift and Alt to create a second variant of this, or I can just easily go to our Assets panel and drag our button out here so that I don't have to recreate this. So there we go. And I'll just duplicate this and then change it from small to big. Now I'm sure you've noticed we have other variants over here. Now this other variant is this one, this long button over here that has been created in our other Figma file. Let me show you. This is it. But we are going to create that one from scratch here as well before I use the imported version. So how we're going to do that is just the same way we created this one. I will create okay, so I'm just going to duplicate any one of these. Let me duplicate this one. This is just like the one we just created right now, but yeah, I will just detach this instance by clicking on it and detaching the instance, and then start to change the properties of it. So we are going to go back to Shopify, and then this text right here, we're going to duplicate it. We're going to copy it and then put it into our Figma file very easily like that. Now what you notice is that this is going to paste as a link. If you copy it like that, sometimes it can paste as a link. So if it does that, you would have to right click on it and then unlink it. So that could happen. If that happens, if for example, let me just do this. If for example you copy and paste it and it comes up like this, yeah, so you all you have to do is to click on edit and then detach the link, and that's it. It's not underlined anymore and it's gone now. Alright, so great. This has got two different variants. So it has a hover state and a normal state. And this normal state, this other text over here has a different color and there's an icon. So we're going to replicate that over here. And for this text style, we're just going to go and pick our button 18, or I'm going to use 16 rather. 16 is okay for me for this. Yeah, and I'm sure that's the same thing that has been used in the Shopify website as well. So the first thing we're going to do is to change the color of this text to our gold color. So it looks exactly like this one. And yeah, I don't think this used the button text really. It used just normal, slim, regular text. Yeah, that's more like it. Notice? Yeah. And now we're going to add an icon. That icon, the arrow icon that is here, I'm going to add it into this before we create the hover state variant. And how I'm going to create that is using my favorite icon plugin called Iconify. I'm going to run that. And then before I do anything, let me rename this to long hero button. That's my abbreviation for long hero button, LHB. Okay, so now that has been renamed, I'll go back to Iconify and run it again. So I'm going to make sure that this is selected, because that's one amazing thing about Iconify. So I've already searched for this previously, but if you don't have it already, you can search for arrow, hit enter, and then it brings up all the arrows on Iconify. You can it has so many variants of this. You can search and search until you find what you're looking for. And I think I found what I'm looking for on number 7, which is this one. So yeah, this looks very much like what is down Spotify. So once I click on this once, we'll go down. You can change the color of this if you want. You can change the width and the height. Now this height affects width and height. If I change it, it changes the width and the height. So I'm just going to change this to, I'm going to use 16. That'll be, almost the same as my font size. So now that that's changed, it affects the width and the height. So, and then you can see here that LHB has been selected. If I click on this, it's going to change. Now it's going to, if I import it, it's going to import inside this instead, inside this assets frame instead. But I want it to be imported into this frame, this LHB long hero button frame. So I'm going to select that. And that's the amazing thing about Iconify, which is why I use it a lot. So yeah, I'm going to import it inside that frame, and you can see, boom, just like that. It's in there. And I can also change the color if I want. Now let me hit Ctrl Z to take that out. And now I'm going to go to my colors and then just copy this gold color from here. Now if I want to use this color on Iconify to import this into this, to import the icon into this, I will just go here and then paste this hex code. That's it. I'll import. I'm sorry, I mistakenly changed the width and height of this, so I need 16 rather. So I'm going to import this again, and then that's it. I'm going to close this up, and you can see imported using that color that I picked. So by using left and right, I can shift this because this is auto layout. It's an auto layout frame. In an auto layout frame, you can shift, you can change positions of things by using left or right, because this is moving what's it called, horizontally. But if it was moving if it was a vertical layout, I'll have to use up and down. to change the position of this. So I'm going to put this, make this change this back to an horizontal layout, and then I'm going to turn this 180 degrees to get exactly what we have on Spotify, just like that. And now I'll create the other variant. You can turn this into a component and then take this down and then change the colors and all of that, and I'm sure we all know how to go about that, but for the sake of time of this video I won't go into all of that. I will just go and use the one that has been created before. That's the amazing thing about Figma. You don't have to go and create things that have been created before. You can just go and reuse things that have been created before. So I don't know if I said that correctly. It sounded correct in my head. So long hero button. There we go. That's it. And then just duplicate this, and you can see the hover state right here. And the same for the buttons as well. So I can just duplicate this and then duplicate this and change them to the hover state. So small hover and then big hover. Alright, great. You can see it's using the gray color that has been, added into our color styles. That's what it's using. This is the exact same one like the one we created. Okay, so now we have taken care of all our assets, taken care of the typography, and we've also taken care of the colors. Now we move into designing the website itself, which is what we are all here for. You can see this website is a very complex website. It's not a simple website like any other website that you can just go and then easily replicate. Shopify websites, they've done really amazing work on this website, which is why it has so many cool features and elements on it. This whole animation, we are not going to do this animation, but we're going to do this, take care of this hover effect, and this hover effect as well, even this as well. We're going to do all of that. And yeah, so with that being said, we're going to continue creating this complex Shopify website, and you can see all our assets looking beautiful right here and well arranged. So yeah, we're going to go into building the website right now. All right, so we have created our frame for our web page design. So this is it. This is a 1920 by 1080 presentation slide. So yeah, the first thing that we need to do is this background right here that Shopify has. It's a very nice background. It has a nice linear gradient on it, and to create something like this, you could either use linear gradient, that could work, or you could use a website called Mesh Gradients. So I'm just going to go to meshgradient.com to duplicate what we have, to kind of get what we have on the Shopify website, meshgradient.com. It's a really amazing website, so you could practice on how to use this, and maybe I'll create another video and we can learn how to use this, and but it's quite intuitive, it's easy to use. But this is what I used to get the background that we're going to be using for this tutorial video. So I'm just going to import the background that I have already made using Mesh Gradient, using Control Shift. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly get that. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to make sure it's inside of the frame. Alright, so this kind of looks like what we have here, right? So you can see some similarities. You can either do this or you can use linear gradients to, to try to achieve this. But I use this because it's more precise. You shift it to any angle I want and get a nice, gradient. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is to design the top navigation menu. And how we're going to do that is to first get our logo, the Shopify logo. I'm going to copy this, and then with this frame selected, I'm going to paste it inside. Okay, so let's drag this here, and then I'll make sure it's the proper size. So using CSS peeper, I'm going to get the exact size of this logo right here that has been used in Shopify. I'm waiting for that to load up. Alright, great. Click on that, you can see that it is 125 by 35. So I'm going to impute that here, width 125, height 35. Alright, perfect. So with that being done, we're going to start adding our menu items. Alright, so by using T for text, or going here and then creating text, I'm going to create this is going to be a component that I'll use to name impute our menu. This is a way of creating a menu, creating menu tabs that makes things easier and faster. Just makes things cleaner. By creating this text, I'm going to use Shift A to make it, turn it into an auto layout or center everything in there, and then I will rename it using Ctrl R. Call this menu item. Hit enter. And with that being done, I will turn this. First of all, I would like to give this a fill, just in case, and then I'll turn it off. And then, okay, next, I will go to Iconify, because on Shopify, some of them have got this down arrow on them. So on Shopify, and there's something I need to do. I need to take this or detach this for some reason, because I'm going to add underlining for the variant. So Shopify, there's a down arrow. I'm just going to go to Iconify and then pick a down arrow to be added into my design. So let's go to number 1 of these arrows. I should be able to find something very similar. Okay, any of this can work. I'm just going to use this. Alright, with that frame selected, just as I showed you before, if you click on it, pick the color. I'm just going to use 0, 0, 0 for black. And then I'm going to use maybe 16 is fine. 16 is fine. And then I'll import that into the menu items. Alright, great. So I'm going to take that to the right, and then the space between, I'll leave it at 10. That's okay. And this is looking a little bit too small, so I'm just going to make this I'm going to use this constraint the proportions, and then increase the width and height proportionally. I'm going to make this 24 and see. That's too big. I'll make that 18, and that's okay. That's better. And then so what we're going to do right now is that we're going to turn this into a component. So Control Alt K is shortcut to turn things into components. So I can click here, Control Alt K, your keyboard, and then now that this is a component, I'm going to turn this into I'll create a Boolean property for this. A Boolean property can be used to turn things into true or false. and then with true it stays on, and false the element goes off. So you can't view it when it's false, and when it's true you can view it. So I need to create this Boolean property. I'm just going to call this down arrow, and then leave it on true. And then I'm just going to rename this down arrow as well. Just, it doesn't affect anything, but I just like to name everything, you know. So for you to see the effect of this Boolean property that I put there, and also I'm going to change this to a text property as well. So by using control and clicking on things like I told you before, it goes into the frame and then select things that are inside frames, elements that are inside frames. So I've selected the text. Now I'll go here to content, and then I'll create a text property for this as well. So I'm going to leave it as text, and the value I'll leave it at menu. So create a text property. Great. So you're going to see the effect of this in a minute. So I'm going to push this to the side for now, and then I'm just going to duplicate it by using Alt. So now another thing, I'm going to add a field to this. Okay, I feel has been added, I'm sorry. Okay, great. Everything is set, and now I'm going to show you the use of that Boolean property that I added there, and then the text property. You see now on the right, you can now turn off that down arrow and have this menu just like that, just like the one, this pricing menu item that we have here. Or you can turn it back on, and then it comes back on. And the text property helps you to change the text very easily from this right panel. So whatever I put here, if I put, for example, pricing, and hit enter, changes here very easily. Alright, great. I'm going to change this text to 16 because that's what was used in Shopify. And then I'm going to create some more of this. So there are how many? 1, 2, 3 on this side, and then another one on this side. That's 4 in total. So I will use Shift and Alt and drag this to the side, and just loosely give this 30 or whatever, because I'm going to use auto layout later to give it proper spacing and alignment. So I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate 2 more times, and then change the text for the rest of them. So solutions, we have solutions, we have resources, and we have login. So go here, solutions, and we have resources, then we have login. Alright, so what I want to do is to attach this text from here, and why I'm doing this is because I'm going to add that underlining effect, and it just does not work if you have this as a style, as a save style. You have to detach that style from it after you add it to make it the same with the rest. Just detach it so that you can have that underlining effect on it later on. And I'm sure, okay, yeah, you can, because it's a component, so it's much better you do this from the main components, so it affects everything very easily. And that's the thing about components that you need to understand as well. So components, how they work is this main component here, this one controls each and every of this instance. So if I come here and then I change this to, let's say I increase the size to 24. Sorry, excuse me. I think I need to take things a little bit backwards. Let me just Ctrl Z this first to the point before this was changed, because I changed the property some time ago. Alright, great. So So now I'm going to show you one very cool thing about components. Components with this instance that I've dragged here, and this is the main component, by the way. So you can see this on it to show you that this icon only show you that is the main component. Whatever I change here affects the other instance and every other instance. If, for example, I have many instances, so Control D for the rest of them. So if I come here and then I change this text size to, let's say, 36, you see what happens there? It affects everything else. So 15 affects everything else, and I can just go here and make it 16 like what we have on the Shopify side, and then I'll detach this so that I can add that underlining effect, over effect on it. Okay, and if I also change the color of this right here of this text, let's say I give it red, you see it affects all the instances over here. And you know, this goes on and on for everything else, you know. So yeah, that's about it for components. The main component controls every other instance, and that's why components are so powerful. I'm just going to use Control C to take this back to black, because I definitely do not want this to be red. Okay, shift that to the side, and then I'll start changing the text on some of these things. So we have solutions, solutions, resources, and login for this. So solutions, then we have resources, and we have login. Okay, so I'm going to make this 3 auto layout, and how we're going to do that is to use Shift A, so shortcut, and then I'll rename this auto layout into menu items and left. Let me call this left because this one's going to be on the left hand side, and then I'll create another one, you know, together with the Shopify. So I'll just align it to the left, so Shift A, and then I'll call this container. Alright, so with this selected, I'll reduce the spacing between these items, and I'll just give this 45, and then for this other items in here, I'll give it a spacing of let's do 30. On the CSS peeper, you can easily check the spacing between items as well. So if I click on this and then I just take my mouse to the other element, I can see the spacing between items. So it's 32 that has been used in the Shopify website, and let's see from here to here it's 48. I can just duplicate what we have there if I want, so 32 and 48. Yeah, so I'll take care of the right side right now. I'll shift this all the way, and then one thing I need to do is to turn on my layout grid. So I'm going to turn on layout grid and change this to columns, and then I need a margin of 90 left and right. So let me just increase this to maybe 12, and then the gutters can be, yeah, I can leave that on 20 if I want, doesn't matter. So yeah, that's okay. So I'll use this layout grid to help guide my website to make sure everything is aligned left and right very nicely. So yeah, I'll just take this more to the right. Everything is going to be aligned in a second, and then the next thing I want to do right now is to add a button, just like we have in on Shopify website right here, this button. I'll go to the assets panel, and then I'll drag my button components, and then make sure it's the small button. So then I'll change the text from button to start free trial. So start free trial, enter. See how responsive that is. Okay, so I'm going to frame this using Shift A, Nice. And then 32 for the spacing. And then I'll rename it. And Control R. Call this menu. What did I name this other one? Menu items left. Okay, this one will be menu items right. So both of them selected. I'll create another auto layout frame just to have everything in a container. So using Shift A. Perfect. Alright, so I will drag this. By dragging this, I'm reducing this spacing between the items. And then something else I want to do is to make sure that this right here spreads the entire length, because it has a fill effect. You can see this effect right here. So I'm going to close CSS peeper for now. I'm just going to leave that open for now, in case I need it. So yeah, I'm going to drag this using Alt. By holding Alt and dragging, it increases both the left and the right side. So I'm going to drag this until it gets to the edges. Alright, perfect. Now I'm going to center everything that's in this frame to the center. Let me rename this first. I'm going to call this top nav. Nope, that's top nav. Top nav. Alright, nice. So now that everything is centered, you can see it aligns with my layouts very nicely. So now to drag the screen, I'm using the mouse, the center of the mouse as a scroll wheel. I click on the scroll wheel and it changes my icon to the hand tool, and then I can use that to drag around my screen easily. So you see how nicely that has aligned my layout. So that's the layout I'm going to use and I'm going to maintain. So I'm going to use this to take this to the top of the screen, align it to the top of the screen nicely, and then I'll check the size of this entire thing to make sure I'm keeping towards Shopify practice. So this is 72 length. Alright, so I'm going to try to get that same length, maybe not exactly the same thing, but close. So you can do that and get the exact same length if that's what you want. But so for this, I'm just going to give this a fixed height, change this to fixed height and 72. Alright, so just like that, we have 72 height on all of this. Alright, so I guess that works. That works very nicely. Next thing, we're going to add a fill to this, and yeah, so before we do that, we are going to turn off this, because if you check the Shopify website, on the solution, pricing and resources, and pricing does not have an arrow, down arrow on it, and same with login as well. So first I'm going to shift this pricing using the left and right arrow. I'm going to take this to where I want it to be. Alright, so then I'm going to turn off the down arrow for the pricing. That turns it off very easily, and then I'm going to add a fill. I'll add a white fill. Let me turn off this layout grid so the colors are better to look at. And then now that I've given that white, I'm going to change this from solid to linear, a linear gradient. Alright, so I do not know why the gradients added everywhere, so I'm going to make sure this is selected. Yeah, that's what I want, like this. So with this done, I'm going to change the opacity of this to 82. So we have, you see on the Shopify website, you can see the cards beneath this top navigation. When it's scrolled up like this, you can see a little bit of it. So the opacity is low, and for us to add that effect, we need to reduce the opacity of that too. So I'm going to have 82 opacity for this, and then for this one, this can remain 0, and I want to create another one. So I'm just going to wait until this shows up and then click. Nice. I can also think I can also do that here. Yeah, let's hit Ctrl Z. So I'm going to take this one down. Now make this one 80. So I'll take this one until it's where I like. So let me zoom to make sure I'm seeing what I want to see. Need that little shadow here. And then yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So now we have let me see, I think on the website this goes down some more, so I'm just going to select that again with linear gradients, and then this one, take it down some more. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Alright, so we're done with the top now for now, I believe so. The next thing we're going to start doing right now is to add our cards. There's something I really want to do, and I'm itching to do it. This mesh gradient isn't exactly what we have here. You can see there's a little bit of white that continues from this top nav, and it's like a flow and then goes down like this, and it's quite nice. So I want to replicate this. So I'm just going to go into, and there's a little bit of like a faded kind of, there's a white fade on this on this grain. It's not so sharp down here like we have on our hours. So I'm just going to add some linear gradient to what we have here. So okay, so I already added a linear gradient here mistakenly, so I'm just going to use that. I'm going to be white, and I'm just going to take that up. That's white, right? Okay, so I'm going to inverse this. So I'm going to put this one 0 and make this one 100. And yeah, that should be working. Okay, no, I think I know why that's not working. So I'm just going to take this out real quick. And then what we want to do is I'm just going to go into this mesh gradient and drag it down. I want to clip it to this frame. I'm holding Control while scrunching it up, while reducing the size, so it does not, because if I don't hold Control, it's going to scrunch up everything. So what I'm doing right now is like I'm clipping it. So if I don't hold Control, see what happens. Okay, yeah, that's already happened. But if I do not hold Control, I take this, see what happens. So yeah, but if I hold Control, I'm just clipping only that frame, and you see it's not bringing anything upwards. It's not resizing it. It's just clipping the frame. That's all that's happening. So with that done, I'm going to select the image itself. That's the mesh gradient itself, and then add a linear gradient on top of it. I'm going to make this white and then turn it into a linear gradient. Make this part 0. Let's make this 100%, by the way. Yeah, so I'll make this part, top part 0, and then make the bottom parts 100 opacity. Yeah, so we can now start playing with this. So I'm just going to take this down some more, so the effect is not so grand. So you see what we have here on Shopify, like the lower part down here is kind of white, so almost white, it's not too green, so that's okay. I'm going to add another linear gradient on top of this. Okay, same color, so it's going to be all white, and then 100. Yeah, so I'm going to make this a linear gradient, and I'm just going to turn this other way, so think this is the one with the 100. So I'm going to take this up here like that, and then take this one down here like that. So this one is going to be 0. Oh no, I mistakenly created another layer. So this is 0. Great, and this is 100. Okay, so I'm going to drop this one from 100 to somewhere there. Okay, and then this one can go way further so it doesn't have too much effect. Yeah, this one too. So I'm going to take this up, yeah, like so, and then start increasing it until I have what I want. All right. I'm going to play with this some more. I'll drag this up so. Okay, so you can see here now we're getting what we want little by little. So that white is showing up. Yeah, so this is basically what we want. So this is much better. It looks more like this. So that white continuity from the top nav to the page, we've kind of replicated that here. Not perfectly well, but that's close. So yeah, so now we're going to start adding our cards to this right hand side of the page. That's this cards, the cards that we created before. So we're going to go to our assets panel, and because we've turned them into components, you can just start dragging and adding them into the page, just like that, easily like that. So that's one, and then I'm just going to add a banner beneath it. So I'm going to take these two and then create a layout, auto layout, using Shift A. And I like the space, I like the 30 space on it. So yeah, if you don't have that, make that 30. And then great. And make sure you don't have any padding on this. So I'm going to turn on my layout again so that I can have things aligned very well. So my layout grid. I'm going to take this until it's on the layout grid. Great. Alright, so I'm going to turn that off real quick, or I'm just going to leave that one. Let me just leave that one for now. So I'll go to this one and then rename this frame. I want to rename this frame. Let's name it right card container. Card container, right? Whatever. So with that being done, I'm going to add some more to this. So I'll drag this one. First drag that into the page, then drag that with the blue lines. You know where this is going to, so I'm going to leave that here, and then I'll just duplicate this one. I can drag it from here, whichever one. Let me just drag it from here and then add it beneath this, and then I can just change this from 1 to 2. Okay, so I'll do that for the left side as well. So I'll have this like that. I'm just going to shift it because okay, now let me take this beneath this real quick. So I'll right click on it and send it behind, send to the back. That has gone way back. So with that on top, I'm just going to I'll right click on this, and then that's on the top nav and bring it to the front then. So that should work. Yeah, so you can see you already have that, that effect that we have on Shopify, on the Shopify website. So I'm going to take this to the right some more so we can have that aligned well. And then you can just compare first. You see that effect that we have there. So that's there right now. I'm just going to make sure that this is 90. That's definitely not 90. So I'm going to turn on my layout grid again to make sure that everything is aligned properly. Okay, so I have a problem here. This is not aligned, so I'm going to increase the spacing between this till it aligns to the left and the right of my layout grid nicely. That's it. And then this one too. Okay, I'm going to take this to the top. Nice. Alright, so I want to do the same thing that I did here. I'll create a frame, Shift A, go to layout frame, remove all the padding, left and right. And I'm going to rename this, I'll call this left card container. And then I'll start adding other elements into this as well. So I'm just going to add whatever, add this one. So place this here, and then make sure that it is the vertical layout, so the things can be stacked up and down. And then I have to also make sure that the spacing between this is 30. Right, great. So I'm going to add this next. Add this beneath here. Okay, so go back to my asset panel, and then I'll add another one of this. Okay, drag this until it shows up and lets me add it. Great. I'll change this to, let me do 3. This one I'll change it to 4. Okay, nice. And I'm just going to take this upward, and you see how Shopify scrolls, how the scroll effect happens in Shopify. It doesn't stay on the same line. Eventually it does while it's scrolling, like right now these two are on the same line, and then it goes on and on. But you can see it's usually not in the same line. So I'm going to replicate that. Take this up like that. So the pictures are usually not in the same line, like you'd expect. They don't scroll. It's almost like a parallax effect. Sorry. Okay. I mistakenly went to a different tab. I'm going to shift this using shift. And then I'm going to make sure the space between these two is 30. So I'm using Alt. By holding Alt, if I click on an element in Figma and I go to another element and click and hold Alt, I can see the space in between them. So I'm going to use left and right arrows to shift until I get to 30. That's what I want. Alright, so now we have that kind of effect, where the pictures are never aligned and the banners are also never aligned. Alright, so I'm going to add some more things in here, like another one of this. So add this one in here, sorry. Add this one in here. So I like this picture very much, so I'm going to add it there. And then this one, go down. Nice. Alright, so I'm going to add one more of this. One more of this by duplicating. That's another way you can do it. I'll send it downwards, and then I'll change it to number 5. Great. Alright, so things are looking good. Let me turn this layout grid off. Then it should be looking like what we have on our Shopify website right now. So we are almost done. We're done with the right side. I'm closing CSS peeper, so the page is going to reload right now. Okay. Alright, so you can see where things are looking very close to what we have here. See the effect up here, and now we're going to go to the left side of the page and then add those text. So by pressing T, I'm going to start adding the text. But first of all, I'm going to add my long hero button. That's a funny name, by the way. My long hero button. Nice. All right. My long hero button is set and it's aligned with this one. How I know is because of those red lines that are guiding me. So once it's there, yep, once it's there, I know it's 90. I'm going to take one more, make sure it's 90. This ones are not really aligned properly. All right, so that's fine by me. Then I'll add text. And what's that text? That's here, the global commerce platform. All right, the global commerce platform. Nice. I can use K. If I press K on my keyboard and bring out the scale, I can just select it from up here, and then I can just drag this. It's an easy way of increasing or scaling things up. I'll use V to go back to my normal mouse pointer or my move tool. I'll scrunch this up a little bit, and I'll get that size. What was that size again? That was 96 something. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use a bigger size because I've noticed that this does not fit the screen. I need something that fits the screen properly just for the sake of this. So I'm going to use 138 for this. I'll make it bold. Or I could just go here and our H1. Oh, we didn't save our H1. We did not save our H1. Okay, so that's okay. I'm just going to make this bold. And increase the width of this some more until we have exactly what we have here. That is looking nice so far. And I'm just going to make this, okay, not yet. Could make it an auto layout now or later. So I'm going to have another text here, and I'll just reduce the size first to 16 for now. Then I'll start typing, or I can just copy this text from here very easily and paste it into Figma. Now this text should be 22, size 22. You can use CSS peeper to confirm that. I'm going to pick 22 text and then make it look something like this. So from offline it wraps down. I'm going to wrap it from there. First of all, I'm going to take this to the left, and that's just a waste of my time. Basically, I'm going to make this an auto layout, so everything is going to look really nice very soon without having to do too much work. So next thing that we need to do is to create this right here. Enter your address with this button. What we're going to do, we're going to start by adding a text that says enter your email address, and make this an auto layout. And then I'm going to add a button into this. So I'll go to my assets panel, drag a button in here, add it into that frame by dragging it inside, or I could go to the layers if it's not adding that way. And yeah, I could just drag this into this if I find it. So this button, so I could drag this right into this frame on the layers panel, and then take it to the right hand side, rename this frame to email, enter email address, enter email first, and then I'm going to align this to center like that. Yeah, so you can see there's a lot of space in center, and then it's the width of this entire thing. So I'm going to take this, and this, and then this, and hit Shift A to turn this into an auto layout. So now everything is aligned properly. Make sure there's no padding, and the spacing, I'll make it 30 for everything in there. So for this, I just need it to be somewhere, let's say there. Yeah, that's okay. Let's do it there. This text is looking way too big, by the way, so maybe semi-bold, no, bold, but let me drop the size to 120. Okay, I think that's better. Alright, so I'm just going to drag this to get somewhere nice like there, and then I'll change this from packed to space between, so that the elements inside of it can have that space in between. And then I'm going to add a stroke to this. So I added that stroke, and then you can see how light green the stroke is. I'm going to pick green, any green from here, something like that, and then I'm just going to drop the opacity to somewhere like that. Let me zoom in, make sure I'm getting this right. That's not okay yet. Let's see. Somewhere they're almost gray and green at the same time. We're fine. Yeah, I think that works. Yeah, that works. So I'm going to make this round. So like I did before, I'll drag this until it's round, and then I'll stop. Alright, so it should be looking like what we have there. Just confirm that real quick. So you can see there's a little space around this as well. So yeah, I'm just going to make this, add some little bit of more opacity. This, yeah, so that's okay. And I'm going to reduce the padding for this. So left and right padding, let me confirm that. So let me just do 30 for the left and right padding. Or no, I'm going to use only left padding because the right side does not have that padding. So to do individual padding, you have to click on this button right here. And then for the left side, I'm going to have 30. For the right side, I will just do 5. And then for the top and the bottom, as well, 5 to replicate what we have there. And then for this button, I'm going to change it from the small to the big button. And then I'll change the text from button to start start free trial. I think that's what should be there. Hit enter. Start free trial. Yeah. Alright. So this is looking like what we have there. So we're almost done. I'm just going to add a fill, and then boom. That's it. Now for this text, I'm going to use 16 for the text, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity to somewhere around there. Should be fine. It should be almost invisible. Yeah, so if you look at it now, it should look exactly like what we have on the Shopify website. Alright, so the last bit of text is down here, and I'm just going to copy this text and paste it here. After duplicating this text box, I'm going to drag this down and then paste it here. Great. This one should be 12. The text size should be 12, yeah. And then the spacing between all of these items seems too small to me. I'm going to use 48 for it, and that should be much better. Okay, so this is looking good so far. I'm just going to increase this a little bit more again. I'll use 130. Yeah, so that works for me. And then this text, and make sure what we have here. Okay, yeah, that's quite exact. So we have there. Alright, so yeah, so guys, you can see so far so good. What we have here looks exactly or very close to what we have on the Shopify website. Okay, so we're going to start doing the prototyping right now. This is the prototyping stage, and you must have noticed that I have rearranged some of this just to make things look more like what's in Shopify website, I just reposition some of the images inside the frames, and that's it. So we're going to get into the prototyping right away, and how we're going to do that is with a very cool feature that Figma has. I can add this interaction on this component and its variant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this here and say, this pops up, and then I can say on hover, or while hovering, I want it to change to hover state. I want this default state to change to hover state, and that is smart animate. I want this to happen very quickly, so I'm going to use 100 ms. So I'm going to do the same thing here for the rest of it. So while hovering, change to smart animate. Figma remembers, so it keeps it smart animate. So while hovering, smart animate 100 ms. Everything stays. So while hovering, 100 ms, nice. So while hovering again, nice. And then for the buttons, I also want to do the same thing here. So drag this. Oh, that didn't drag. Okay. So this pops up. Let's say while hovering, the same thing, 100 ms. While hovering, so change this to while hovering. And then I'm also going to do the same thing lastly for this one, while hovering as well. Okay, so let's play this animation. Alright, so you can see the nice hover effect on top of the images. Beautiful. So yeah, we are done with that. That looks good, real nice, lovely transitioning, just like what we have on the website. You can see the button as well, really subtle but nice effect, and you can see this one as well, really subtle but nice hover effect as well. So yeah, and you can see this button as well, just like we have on the website. But something you'll notice is that this menu item isn't doing what it does on the website. That's this underlining hover effect. So we're going to fix that in a minute. It's really quick, and I'm just going to go to this menu item that was created here previously, and I'm just going to create a variant for it. So by clicking on this plus right here, I can create a variant very easily. So you can go up there and do that. So with this variant created, I'm going to rename it hover. That's it. And then on this one, I will use Control, select the text itself, and add an underlining on this, just like that. So you can see that underlining on it there. And then what I'm just going to do is, on prototyping, I'll add an interaction from this to this, just like we did on everything else. So while hovering, smart animate into this second one, into the hover state. I'm going to try this out now, and things should be working real nicely right now. So this, you see all of that, and lastly, yeah, so you can see that nice underlining effect on hover. So let's take a recap of what we've done so far today. First, we imported assets from Shopify website with the help of extensions like Colorzilla and CSS peeper, and also by inspecting the website's code. Next, we created the design system for the website, and then learned different ways on how to create components and variants in Figma. We then moved on to publishing and using assets and styles across different Figma files. After that, we saw the use of Boolean and Text properties before we finally finished off and fine-tuned the website design. So if this tutorial taught you anything today or helped you in any way, like the video and leave a comment about how it has helped you. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be dropping more useful and helpful videos like this in the future. So see you in the next video.